President Trump visits Asia. See the biggest highlights from his trip. U.S. President Donald Trump, C, poses for a group photo with from L, R, Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, East Timor's Prime Minister Xanana Gusmao, Vietnam's Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh, Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet, Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Sultan of Brunei Hassan al-Bolkiah, Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto, and Laos Prime Minister Sonexay Sirphandone before the 13th ASEAN United States Summit during the 47th Association of Southeast Asian Nations ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur on October 26, 2025. Vincent Thien, pool photo by Vincent Thien. President Donald Trump speaks as he presides over the signing of a Cambodia-Thailand peace treaty at Kuala Lumpur Convention Center on October 26, 2025 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Trump is in Malaysia for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations ASEAN Conference and will next fly to Japan en route to South Korea for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC gathering. President Donald Trump looks on as Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet and Thailand's Prime Minister Anyutin Charnvirakul hold up signed documents during a ceremonial signing of a ceasefire agreement on the sidelines of the 47th Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, summit in Kuala Lumpur on October 26, 2025. A Royal Malaysian Air Force F-18 Hornet fighter jet accompanies Air Force One, with U.S. President Donald Trump aboard and way to Kuala Lumpur International Airport on October 26, 2025 in Malaysia. Trump is in Malaysia for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations ASEAN Conference and will next fly to Japan en route to South Korea for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC gathering. President Donald Trump walks with Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, Center R, as he steps from Air Force One upon arrival at Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Sepang on October 26, 2025. U.S. President Donald Trump landed in Malaysia on October 26th on the first leg of his Asian tour that would feature high-stakes trade negotiations with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. President Donald Trump carries the U.S. and Malaysian national flags at a welcoming ceremony upon arrival at Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Sepang on October 26, 2025. U.S. President Donald Trump landed in Malaysia on October 26th on the first leg of his Asian tour that would feature high-stakes trade negotiations with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. President Donald Trump waves from his official vehicle known as a Beast as he departs from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Sepang to attend the ASEAN Summit on October 26, 2025. U.S. President Donald Trump landed in Malaysia on October 26 on the first leg of his Asian tour that would feature high-stakes trade negotiations with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. President Donald Trump joins dancers for a dance during the welcoming ceremony next to Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, L, as he arrives on Air Force One at Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Sepang on October 26, 2025. U.S. President Donald Trump landed in Malaysia on October 26 on the first leg of an Asian visit that would feature high-stakes trade negotiations with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. President Donald Trump welcomes Emir Qatar Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, L, and Prime Minister of Qatar Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani, third L, aboard Air Force One during a refueling stop at Al Udeid Air Base on October 25, 2025 in Abu Nakhla, Qatar. Trump is traveling to Malaysia for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit, ASEAN, Japan, and to South Korea for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference, APEC. Also pictured is U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, 3rd R, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, 2nd R, and Special Assistant to the President Margot Martin, R. President Donald Trump's 2025 diplomatic tour across Asia began in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, marking a pivotal moment in U.S. engagement with Southeast Asia. This trip was rich in symbolism, strategic economic initiatives, and diplomatic breakthroughs, particularly the unprecedented peace agreement between Cambodia and Thailand. Beyond ceremonial welcomes, the visit highlighted U.S. interest in strengthening alliances, securing supply chains, reducing Chinese influence, and reshaping geopolitical dynamics in the Indo-Pacific. One grand arrival in Malaysia, diplomacy and symbolism. Trump arrived in Kuala Lumpur on October 26, 2025, where he was welcomed by Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim with full ceremonial honors. Fighter jets from the Royal Malaysian Air Force escorted Air Force One, showcasing both respect and strategic partnership. Trump walked the red carpet, participated in the national welcome ceremony, and even joined traditional dancers, an image widely shared around the world as a sign of goodwill and cultural diplomacy. The U.S. president was seen holding both the American and Malaysian flags during the ceremony, reinforcing mutual friendship. Trump's motorcade, the Beast, drove to the capital as he headed to the ASEAN Summit venue, while media across Southeast Asia covered every step of his arrival. 2. Key moment, Cambodia-Thailand peace agreement. One of the most significant outcomes of the visit was Trump presiding over the signing of a peace and ceasefire agreement between Cambodia and Thailand. The issue stems from deadly border clashes in mid-2025 involving troops, artillery, and disputed temple areas. At the ASEAN Summit venue, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and Thailand's Prime Minister Annutin Charnvirakul signed the accord, while Trump, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, and other leaders looked on. The deal includes withdrawal of military forces from border zones, joint demining operations, establishment of monitoring teams, commitment to peaceful negotiations moving forward. Trump called the peace deal a historic moment for Southeast Asia, positioning the U.S. as a mediator in regional disputes, something rarely seen in previous U.S. administrations. This reinforces America's diplomatic credibility beyond military alliances and economic influence. 3. Strategic trade and economic partnerships. Trump used the ASEAN summit to deepen U.S. economic ties across Southeast Asia. He announced new trade and investment agreements with Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Key elements include reduction of tariffs on U.S. exports and regional imports, joint development of semiconductor and digital trade frameworks, major aviation deals, such as Thailand purchasing U.S. aircraft worth over $18 billion, U.S. investments in Southeast Asian infrastructure, energy, and manufacturing. One of the most strategically important aspects was securing critical mineral and rare earth supply chain agreements. Malaysia, Thailand, and Cambodia agreed to support U.S. access to rare earth elements used in electronics, missiles, batteries, and clean energy technology. These minerals are currently dominated by China's global supply control, making Southeast Asia an essential alternative.